let it go. God be a strong and true man. For God and country, freely pledge we all. Led by the flag for which we stand. Look for the man that seeks the good and true. Red for the promise in the game. White for the glory of a heart that's pure. Bright with an ever shining flame. Our mountains and praise the and love of the Lord. For God is the flag. Among the and praise the and love of the Lord. For God and the flag. Children on to faith, march on to glory is a message. Spread to the love will far and wide. Loyal to the hands who reigns of guidance. Ensure and keep us side by side. Heart from heart through the love will conquer all. For God and accept.
Before we begin, I would like to bring the notice of all the participants joining us on Google Meet and YouTube channel that the FDP on the 8th December, that is tomorrow, will start at 11:15 a.m. instead of the usual time of 10:30 a.m. Please note the time of tomorrow's FDP is 11:15 a.m. instead of 10:30 a.m. So let's begin with today's session. Each day is an opportunity to grow. I hope we make the most of it. Wishing you all a very good morning on behalf of the management and principal, Dr. Katie Thomas, sir, of St. Francis de Sales College. I, Mantasha Ansari, a student of BA final year and your host of the day, extend a warm welcome to you on the sixth day of the ongoing faculty development program. Innovation is not a skill. It is a mindset, and innovation in teaching is a constant evolution to make things better for learning. Therefore, the topic of today's talk, teacher and innovative strategies. I extremely honored to introduce and welcome our today's expert, Dr. Sheila Christopher Ma'am. Ma'am is currently the Dean of Research and Publication and the Associate Professor in the Department of Rehabilitation Science, Holy Cross College, Tiruchirappalli. Ma'am has completed her BA in English Literature from Madras University and was awarded the Gold Medal for General Proficiency in English Literature. She has completed her master's in social work with specialization in clinical social work from Bishop Herbal College, Trichy, and was awarded gold medal for outstanding student in clinical social work as well as for general proficiency in social work. Even ma'am has completed her PhD in social work on the topic mental retardation from Bhartidasan University, Trichy, with the highly commendable grade. Ma'am is a visiting faculty in Technical College of Special Education in Nanjing, China. Ma'am has been the Student Support Officer in the Student Exchange Program, Zuid University, Netherlands. Ma'am has an experience of 38 years of teaching undergraduate students and 31 years of teaching post-undergraduate students. Some of the few subjects dealt by ma'am are general psychology, casework, counseling sociology, personality development, group work, dynamics, abnormal psychology, emotional intelligence, communication, human development, clinical social work, and many more. It is difficult to speak about Madam's exemplary achievement in a single stroke. Still, I would try my level best. Ma'am is the editor of the department, Institute newsletter Eco from the time of its inception, 1997. Ma'am was the coordinator of the teaching, learning, and evaluation team, which worked for the re-accreditation of the college by National Assessment and Accreditation Council (NAC) in 2012. Some of the areas of Madam's research include research on inculcating, developing and strengthening high quality transdisciplinary research culture among faculty, research scholars, and students. The ICSSR impressed major research project on developing skill for employability and entrepreneurship of rural mother of children with special needs and integrated family-centered triple E program. UGC major research project on early identification and intervention for children with learning disabilities in primary schools. And the UGC minor research project on developing communication through cue cards in children with autism funded by the University Grants Commission, UGC New Delhi, and many more. Ma'am has also been the peer referee for many national and international journals. Madam has conducted many national and international programs such as the training workshop on intensive international for children with autism, for professionals and present of children with autism Kathmandu, Nepal in March 2014. Training on understanding autism with special education student at Nanjing China College of Special Education and workshop on handling China with autism for parents in Nanjing Special School for Children with Special Needs, Nanjing, China, November 2019. Ma'am has organized 7 international short-term courses and training programs on disability and also involved in consultancy and extension activities, for instance. She has been the consult for autism and autism-related program, designing innovative program for special children and providing consultancy to various NGOs in planning, budgeting, and assisting in staff requirement, and the list goes on. Before we proceed with the session, I request all the participants to post your questions on Google Meet chat box and YouTube live chat box. The question will be answered by ma'am at the end of the session. Ma'am, it is indeed an honor to have you with us today. I now request you to share your knowledge and experience with us. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Mantasha. That was a very exhaustive welcome. Thanks so much for those pleasantries very early in the morning. Thank you so much. So I thank the management for giving me yet another opportunity to be with you this morning. I have already spoken here to a band of eminent scholars regarding the NAC Parameter 3 research innovation. So I'm very happy that I've been invited again. And I take this honor to thank all of you who gave this opportunity. And I hope what we are going to do today will benefit each of us. In fact, it's a learning experience for all of us. And I am not going to say something new. We will just be presenting. I will just be talking to you of all the good things that I have done during my tenure as a teacher, that I continue to do, and maybe this will give you an insight into how you can modify your teaching strategies. So over to my presentation. Is my video visible?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So the topic that I chose to do for you today is teacher and innovative strategies. I just added this tagline, what great teachers do differently. So I thought great teachers really are innovative and they do different things so that they make teaching enjoyable and learning enjoyable as well. We all know Dr. George Bernard Shaw. He has this very pertinent statement. He who can does. He who cannot becomes a teacher, or he who cannot teaches. So in fact, We do not know what sarcasm he underlines with this statement. But all that we know is teachers are a very noble people, and teaching is a noble profession as well. And we do not need to teach creativity, but rather inspire its daily practice. And this is what we are going to talk about today, how creativity can become part of our daily practice, and how teachers need not strain much to be innovative in their strategies. It just needs a little bit of involvement and creativity. Bertrand Russell, another philosopher, he has this to say: education is in fact one of the chief obstacles to intelligence and freedom of thought. So, education actually curtails individuals' thinking. And this is what Bertrand Russell has to say. And this is what even the new education policy says. And it ventures out to talk about more of creative, innovative skill training in our new education policy. Here is another quotation by Robert Ingersoll, who says, "Colleges are places where pebbles are polished and diamonds are dimmed." So, of course, it caters to pebbles to be polished. But for the high achievers, for the gifted, there is nothing much to offer in colleges where the diamonds are dimmed. So how are we going to bring about a balance between these pebbles and diamonds who are there in the same class? And how, as a teacher, our responsibility is to bring a balance between the pebbles to become diamonds and the diamonds to shine further. So this is what we would be talking about today. Now, for all of you here, the audience, you can take this 1-minute test. It's just a question. Recall your favorite teacher. What qualities did this teacher possess that caused him or her to be your favorite? And which of the qualities do you have? You can just contemplate your best teacher, your favorite teacher down the years. Are you thinking? You can unmute your audio and tell me whether you are thinking.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes? Yeah. Are you thinking? Okay. Now,
Yes.
your answer. Did you remember your college or your higher education teacher?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you remember your high school teacher?
Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Or did you remember your
Yes, ma'am.
kindergarten or your primary school teacher?
Hello?
We remember high school and college teachers.
High school and college teachers. Did any of you remember your kindergarten or your primary school teacher?
Yes, ma'am, I do remember.
Yes, I remember my
Yeah.
primary teacher.
Everybody has a favorite teacher. And you know what I mean. The teacher who transforms the way you see the world, gives you self-belief, and whose impact you never really forget. So you should have remembered a teacher who gave you a tap on your shoulder and said, "Well done." Or a teacher who looked into your eyes and spoke to you so that you felt that you were recognized and very well wanted. A teacher who gave you a small chocolate because you responded to a question that she asked. A teacher who told you that you look very bright today. Or a teacher who recognized you even after you graduated, even after you finished your schooling, maybe 10, 15 years afterwards. She saw you on the road and she recognized you, and you recognized you by name. Yes, I'm sure you would have remembered such kind of teachers. So what kind of teacher are we going to be so that our children who pass out of our hands will remember us for a lifetime? So I'm not going to ask you the answers. It may be Mrs. Jackie, or it might be Mr. Sam, or it might be Mr. Raju. It can be anybody. But remember what kind of an impact, or just think over what kind of an impact they have created in you so that you remember them even now. So now, talking about this teaching process or the innovative teaching process, it just boils down to these three things: the teacher, the message, and the student. Regarding teacher, a teacher who is well prepared, who has no communication barriers, who easily communicates. We will talk about that in detail. And then we have the message that the teacher is trying to convey, the message which has to be clear, it has to be accurate, brief, as well as specific. And we have the most important component of this teaching process, the student, who has to be receptive as well as reciprocate. The student has to receive the information as well as convey to the teacher that the student is also with the teaching learning process. So it is a reciprocative process. So it should be receptive as well as reciprocative. Now the teaching process involves these three people, and the teacher is not the boss of the class, but the teacher is a role model to this entire teaching process. And let's see how this works. There are three different types of teaching styles. Research talks about there are many umpteen number of teaching types and teaching styles. Now I have just listed down here three important ones. You have the Professor Ignominious, Professor Quotidian, and Professor Magnificent. Professor Ignominious, as the very word suggests, is very outrageous, scandalous, horrid, horrible, appalling, terrible, who has a negative teaching, who, when comes to class, immediately starts bullying students, who thinks no end of himself or herself, who thinks that he's the boss and the bully. Now, that kind of a teacher is a negative teacher, and we categorize these kinds of qualities into this Professor Ignominious. Then we have the Professor Quotidian, who's a very neutral teacher, who does not recognize whether you are present in class. He's very ordinary, commonplace, mediocre. Her teacher, who has just been pushed into this profession, may be a teacher who just comes for teaching's sake, who does not have anything to do with the teaching at all, who does not have the passion to do it, a very neutral teacher. Many times we find such kind of teachers who come across our lives. Teachers who do not recognize students in class, to teachers who fail to have an eye contact with students in class. So that kind of a teacher, he or she, may be Professor Quotidian. Then we have the Professor Magnificent, the outstanding, excellent, superb, positive teacher. A teacher who plays a very, very vital role in each individual's life. Each student, however large, however small the class is, the teacher gives equal importance to all the students, does a lot of time, spends a lot of time in preparing each class differently. Now, how are we going to become Professor Magnificent? Now, Professor Magnificent is the professor whom we would remember. You remember the previous couple of slides? We spoke about the teacher that you would remember. You would remember for all the good things. Of course, we do remember some teachers for all the bad things they did in class. But we also remember in our hearts, and we would love to emulate their attitudes, their style of teaching. And Professor Magnificent plays a significant role in a student's life. Are we like one of them? Are we Professor Ignominious? Are we a Professor Quotidian? It's time to change. Let's all try to become Professor Magnificent. Now, how are we going to do that? There are three different teaching styles: the directing style, the discussing style, and the delegating style. The directing style starts with where the style promotes learning through listening and following directions, where the teacher gives you a lot of instructions and you start with the big picture, be clear and concise. It's just lecturing. The directing style is more of just lecturing. It's a one-way process. The discussing style is definitely a two-way process where you prepare questions in advance and you don't allow one or two students to dominate. You have a lot of students interacting within the class. And there's a lot of discussion taking place. It's the discussing style. And then the last is the delegating style, which promotes learning through empowerment. When you talk about innovative strategies in teaching, we talk about the delegating style of learning or the delegating style of teaching, where assigned research topics, team projects are assigned, and capstone projects are assigned, and the student is, you have to be carried out, and the student is left to do work, be empowered, and come back with the projects. So it's more of self-learning, but as the yellow box above tells you, the delegating style, where the task experience is really, really high, and the directing style, the task experience is low because it's one-way process, where in the delegating process, it's a two-way process. So let's become Professor Magnificent with a delegating and a innovative teachers, and create a mark in our students' lives so that they will remember us for a lifetime. I was just thinking out of my own experience, what makes a great teacher? And I found out that there are 6 P's to becoming a great teacher. The first P is the personal care. The second P is the professional urge. The third P stands for planning and preparation. And the fourth P stands for presentation. Now, all this is done for the pupil, the student. And if all this is done, this has to be done with passion. So let's see one by one how these 6 P's help you to become a great innovative teacher or a great teacher. The first P is personal care. We all know how personal care is important. And because you will find that there are around 100 students or around 60 students in your class, the 60-minute hour in your class, you have 120 eyes or 60 pairs of eyes looking at you from the top to the bottom, from your head to the foot. So your dressing and grooming is very, very important. It has to be neat, modest, stylish, fresh, and your choice of colors. The choice of colors I mentioned here because we need to decide what kind of colors do we use for each situation. So if it is a lecture class, we'll have to be extra cautious about our dressing and grooming. The care of our skin, our nails, our foot, the footwear that we wear, the hair that we have, the hairstyle that we do, everything has to be taken care of. We would be very well dressed, but if we don't have a proper footwear, it will speak volumes about our personality. So care of skin is very important, care of nails, our foot, the footwear that we wear, and the hair. The physique that we have, we need not go to a gym to have that pakka physique. We need to be smart. What I mean by physique is that we need to have a proper gait. We need to have a proper posture, good food, water, the weight. Because remember, we are the role models. And if we need that 60 pairs of eyes to look at us and listen to us, we need to be dressed and groomed well. We need to be fresh, not just in our appearance, but even in our thought. And that is why we need to feel young. We need to feel young at heart and our body. And to keep all these things, we need to cultivate good habits and interests, particularly if you need to be alert, if you need to keep yourself, you're mentally alert, working on puzzles is a very important component which will help you to be quick in your decision making, to be quick to react, and to keep you alert and to handle even a large, boisterous class. So our personal care is very, very important, not just for female teachers, even for male teachers. Now, this is the success formula for our human maintenance. The physical you, we need food, water, and exercise. For the mental you, we need learning and education. For our social and emotional you, we need friends and relationships. For the spiritual you need beliefs and values, good value system. You remember, we are the role models. And the reward would be increased energy, clear thinking, commitment to values, and connection to those who are important to you. So this is very, very important. With all these things, we would be able to strike a good personal appearance. When our personal self is good, we have a good mental self. Part of our thinking develops from how we look. When you look into the mirror and you see your smart self, immediately you get positive vibes, so that your thinking becomes smart, thinking becomes quick, thinking becomes alert, and you are able to tackle any kind of a situation. So your human maintenance, this would be the success formula. Talking about our personal self, we need to understand ourselves. So as a teacher, are we going to be passive, aggressive, or assertive? Are we going to be passive and avoid confrontation in class and always have a feeling that I lose and you win? You allow students to empower you. You allow your colleagues to empower you. You always don't stand for what you think. Are the passive style? Are you aggressive, where you shut others up and you have a feeling that I win, you lose? The I win, you lose policy is where you are bossy always. You think you have the end, you have the final stay, you have the full stop always. That is the aggressive style. Or are you the assertive person who states your views? You state your views and you show respect. I win, you win. Eric Berne talks about these 6 positions, life positions. The passive win, the I win, you lose. Both very negative qualities for a teacher. And the assertive one is where you have your views and at the same time you show respect for others' views, where you make the person also win. And that learn how this assertiveness can help us. So with all these qualities, our personal self can be developed. Talking about the second P is the professional urge. As professors, as assistant associate professors, we need to be updated, read journals, books, browse through the internet, go to the library very often, very, very often, update ourselves with newspapers, update ourselves with TV programs, TV news channels, and discuss them in class. If we do not do it, the students will not do it. Now it has become very, very simple. All books are available online. Internet provides us with just a click of a button. There are very few people who frequent the library. And that is why, while we were preparing for our NAC, we found even our students and staff, they haven't visited the library for a very long time. And there is a big question in the NAC parameter, which requires students and staff to visit the library. So we need to be updated, learn to speak with clarity, handle new subjects, no fossil notes. Whenever we have our meetings to decide on our workload as to who has to handle which paper, we are very comfortable handling a paper which we've been handling for the past 10, 15 years because we have notes for that. So let's avoid using fossil notes. Times are changing. Today's news is tomorrow's history. So we cannot be satisfied with the notes that we have. We'll have to keep changing our subjects. We have to keep changing and have a diversified area of interest. As teachers, we need to be involved in research. Publish or perish. That's a very important statement that is usually said of teachers. Publish or perish. So we need to be involved in research, write books, booklets, and find the different sources of fundings. Find out which organization offers major, minor projects. Keep looking out for that. Even as students, there are lots of research opportunities for students also. And as professors, as professionals, we need to have memberships in organizations and acquire new skills in SPSS, computers, etc. Attend plenty of conferences, workshops in India and abroad, training programs. You have to also initiate in conducting workshops and seminars and conferences as well as attend them. So professionally, one has to update ourselves. Opportunities will not come very often, but when it comes, we'll have to grab it. If not now, it will be never. So we will have to keep ourselves updated and motivate ourselves to work on. You can have a look at this. You can have a look at this cartoon, which says, "What will happen if you You should check your emails more often. I fired you over 3 weeks ago." So this can be the state if we are not updated. Now, the third important P, we spoke about two important Ps. The first one is the personal care. The second is the professional care or the professional urge that we need. So how do we prepare for class? And this is where our innovative strategies also come. We have to have a calendar where first things first, organize ourselves. And mind mapping. If you can think what you are going to do in class or what you are going to do in the next week, a comprehensive planning and preparation will help you plan ahead and not rush to the class. Sometimes we find teachers who come at the nick of the moment, they just grab a notebook or a textbook and rush to the class. And maybe it's because they are experienced, or maybe they think this is enough for the students. So let's not have that kind of an attitude when we rush to the class. We need to organize things well ahead for the previous class, for the next class, not the previous class. We need to have a mind mapping of the entire thing, what we are going to do. Only then innovation can come in. Only then new teaching methods can come in. We need to do a good lot of research as to how we can manage a 60-hour class. PPTs, discussions where you can summarize everything. Think also about the possible questions that will arise in the class. Think how you can stimulate the students' thinking. You can think about how the delegating style can work and use a bit of humor. And definitely each class should incorporate life skills. So this will definitely help when you spend quality time in preparation. Your 60 minutes of teaching will become more meaningful to you as well as our students if we are able to prepare well in advance even for a 40-minute class. I think we need not have a 60-minute lecture. I usually have a 40 minutes lecture, 10 minutes earlier for a recap and 10 minutes later for a recap. And the last 10 minutes can talk about how you have incorporated life skills into that class. Talk about certain personal things to the students as to how they feel today, what they had for breakfast, talk about their families, talk about their interests. So I think that will definitely help you build a good rapport with the students, and that will help you connect with the students better. You can have a look at this cartoon that I took. I'm sure you understood what it is all about. Now, this person is sinking. He's there in a swimming pool. He does not know to swim, and therefore he is sinking. But here this person offers a soap. So let's not be a teacher who's offering something that the student does not require at that moment. Let's be more perceptive about what the student requires, what the students require in class, be it intellectual stuff or be it personal stuff. Let's move to the fourth P, talking about presentation and how innovative strategies can be used. Now, there are 4 S's in the presentation. You have the student, the subject, the speaker, the student, and the style. So what are you going to speak? To whom are you going to speak? And what style are you going to use? So let's think about the 4 S's. And the components of our presentation involves the opening, the body, the recap, and the closing. So we have the opening. How are you going to begin the class? As I told you, the first 10 minutes can be for a recap. And then the content that we are going to present, that involves a lot of planning and preparation and mind mapping and research, innovative strategies. That's the body. Now the recap, you sum up the entire thing, talk about the life skills that the person has learned, that you have incorporated in the class, and ultimately the closing. So the 4 S's talk about the speaker, the subject, the student, and the style. And the components are the opening, the body, the recap, and the closing. Now, this is what we generally do. We don't think about all these things. Now, all this is equally important. All these 8 components are very, very important. Now, talking about this presentation, how you look, how you sound, what you say, how you say, whether we allow questions, whether we allow sharing, our eye contact, whether we acknowledge them and recognize them with a smile, all that matters. So how do we look? This takes us back to our personal self. Are we well groomed? How do we sound? Do we sound very monotonous? Do we sound very sad today? Do we sound very aggressive? What do we intend to say and how do we say that? Many times there might be a very good teacher who does a lot of research, has plenty of content, but will not know how to express it. I remember a chemistry teacher who was in my class. She was very brilliant. When she joined my college as a lecturer, she joined with the PhD. But sadly speaking, she could not inspire me at all. And that is how I landed up in an arts group. I landed up with English. Because though she was well versed in her subject, she did not know how to communicate that information. So what you say is equally important as to how you say it. Then we need to have a broad frame of mind. We'll have to allow questions. Sometimes, and that is why George Ingelson says that diamonds are dimmed, because we do not allow questions in our classes. In a small class, when we were in the primary or a kindergarten, children ask plenty of questions, and you have the cute little Mrs. Jackie with the lipstick answering all the questions to the little ones who come there. But when we become professors, when we become associate professors, we don't allow questions at all. We don't have time for questioning. We don't have time for sharing. Let's come out from that. Then, if we are confident enough, we would have eye contact, and we would allow children to have eye contact with us. And that is very, very important. Sometimes as teachers, we look at one side of the class and we do our presentation because we know that there is a mischievous little boy sitting on the left, and therefore we do not focus our eyes to the left of the class. We look only to the right, where there is a very a very soft spoken person who keeps nodding for whatever you say. So we feel very comfortable looking to the right than to the left. So we as teachers, if we have 60 students in our class, 60 minutes, 60 seconds for each person, we need to look at them in one glance so that you can draw their attention. Most important one is to acknowledge their presence and recognize them. Very often, you will find a teacher is loved because when you are absent the previous day, the next day the teacher recognizes your presence and will ask you why you were absent the previous day. There you strike a rapport with the student. When you look at that person and say why the person was absent, and you allow time for that child to share as to the reason why he or she was absent, and that is the time you inform the child that you recognize him, that person is very much wanted in your life. So with that smile, if we can do that, we will build better relationship with students. Innovative teaching is all about all these things: how we present, how we share, how we sound, how we have eye contact, and how we acknowledge them. Okay. Talking about attention span of students, some psychologists claim that this typical student's attention span is only 10 to 15 minutes. But according to UGC, our lectures are supposed to be 60 solid minutes. So how are we going to make a balance of this 60 minutes? So what happens after the 15th minute? We have two important strategies which we can use, generally speaking. Before going into the other details, there is something called the Goldilocks effect, and the other one is the shake things up. The Goldilocks effect, many of us as children, we would have read this story, Goldilocks and the Three Bears. And you will remember that Goldilocks gets lost in a forest and she finds herself in a house which belongs to the three bears, the father bear, the mother bear, and the baby bear. And she is very hungry, so she begins to taste food from the father bear, which is too hot. She tastes food of the mother bear, which is very cold, and she tastes the food of the baby bear, which is just right. And of course, she does so many other things. So Watsky talks about the proximal zone of development, where he talks about when you present content to the students, or when you plan something, see that it is balanced. And that is the Goldilocks effect. Neither too hot, neither too cold, just right. Whether the material is too hot, or is it too easy, or is it just right? If the material is too hard, children don't want to listen. So at too easy, again attention wanders because they have already read all these things. So it has to be the next technique given by Annie Murphy Paul talks about the shaking things up. So psychologists have found that our attention span is only for 15 minutes. So after 15 minutes, so after every 15 minutes, there should be a little shake up in the class. Either you can crack a joke, or you can tell a story, or you can show a picture, or you can explain your topic. You can use any innovative strategy to shake up the entire class, bring everybody together, and then again the class proceeds. So try using these two techniques, the Goldilocks effect and shaking things up, so that even after the 15th minute, you can still have the attention of students. Talking about our presentation, our nonverbal as well as our verbal communication, both are equally important. And talking about our facial expressions, when we present material in class, we need to understand our emotions, and our facial expressions should be such. Let's not have a monotonous face and a monotonous tone. So our facial expressions are also equally important. We can have many such expressions. I just put that to maybe the 15th minute we have already crossed. So it's just to shake you up a bit. We have these slides with these pictures. So we might have all these expressions. Maybe we can rehearse some of these expressions before the mirror, before we stand before the students. Let's not take the leftovers from our home, the leftover negative emotions from our home to the class, and present to students such kind of expressions. This will put them down. Talking about how we need to present our information, and that is paralinguistics, the vocal aspects of our communication that accompany our words. And those components would be the volume, the rate of speed, the fillers, and the pitch. The speed in which we are going to speak, and the pitch or the tone in which we are going to convey that information, and the fillers that we are going to use. The fillers are words like right, right, and so these kinds of words that every teacher, that many teachers, almost most teachers would use these kinds of words. They are called the fillers, which actually fill in the space. And you will find that sometimes when you become so accustomed to these fillers, that the students will start tallying your fillers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then at the end of your class, you will find that you would have hit a century with these fillers. And that's the discussion that will be going on. So we'll have to be extra cautious about the volume, the fillers, the pitch, and the rate of speed. And paralinguistics is very, very important. And of course, the posture, as I already told you, the type of body language that we are going to have. And remember that we are dealing with people, and we are dealing with young people in class. So the posture that we use, the gesture, the eye contact, the orientation, the way we position ourselves. Sometimes we position ourselves in one corner of the class. Or are we moving around in the class from left to right? And how are you presenting your message? And how are you looking, your dress, your appearance, and our expression of emotions? So all this is our body language. Well, the previous slides is just a summary of all that we have earlier done. Our body language is equally important when we stand before the class. And when we make a communication, whether are we clear when we do it? Now you can see this cartoon. It's a miscommunication, especially when information is passed from one individual to the other. The first picture says the manager requested that they need to have a kind of a swing on a tree like this. The purchasing department ordered it this way. The marketing wrote it up like that. The art designed it like that, the art department, and the supervisor implemented it this way. But what the employee really wanted is just a tire with a string on a branch. And this is how communication, when it goes from one person to the other, misinterpreted, and it reaches in a very, very different way. And you will find in this, the fifth picture, as the supervisor implemented it, remember how he has cut the tree and he has hung a swing on that, and that is not what is wanted. So we as teachers, we should not miss our communication. What information we intend to be conveyed has to be conveyed in the right way to the students by following all that we have earlier discussed. Okay, now this is just a pyramid which tells us our retention rate. The average learning retention rate with lecture is only 5%. With reading, it is 10%. Audiovisual 20, demonstration 30, discussion groups 50, practice by doing 75, and when you teach others, it is 90%. And that is why we have this component called peer teaching, where a student is motivated to teach another student. So when you teach others, whatever you have learned, 90% of learning retention takes place. Practice by doing, and that is what is the delegation does, the delegation style of teaching. 75% of retention takes place. Now, these are certain tricks for capturing our students' attention, and all these are innovative teaching strategies. You begin with the motivation. Sometimes you have a teacher coming into the class and says, I'm going to talk about a very, very important topic, which is very difficult. If you do not concentrate, you will not understand it. This puts all the students down, and they will not be motivated to listen at all. Even if it is a very, very difficult subject or a topic, if you could say, this is an interesting topic, this is an important topic which is going to help you in your real life, and we will learn this together, then everybody is shaken up a bit and everybody joins you in listening. So begin with a motivation. Keep it multimodal, which is multi-sensory. Try to use all the different senses, visual, audio, kinesthetic. Maybe if you have a prototype of something that can be brought inside the class, ask them to feel, touch, talk about it. Keep it multimodal. Use games or playway methods, and then incorporate regular free play during your class. 15 minutes of playtime for every hour. This is what happens in Finland, 15 minutes, and that's the shaking up that they do. Then you involve students in the lesson plan. The previous class, you ask them what they want to learn the next class, so that when you plan, you can involve them as to what interests them. Then the proximal zone of development, we spoke about the Goldilocks effect. So that's the proximal zone of development. And then humor is extremely important. So you have to be humorous, you have to make them laugh so that the class gets jolted up every time and now. And then you come back. Sometimes humor shouldn't take the center stage and your subject the backstage. So everything has to be in the Goldilocks effect, the balanced. And then incorporate the unexpected. So this is very important and a nice concept. So you would have told them that you would do something the previous lecture, the next class. But when you come, maybe you can come with something new, some innovative thing. Sometimes when I go for my psychology class, I take a small box with some game inside, or a small bag which is enclosed. So the moment I keep that bag or a box on my table, everybody's curiosity is kindled and they keep looking at that. So I tell them, we will have class for half an hour, and the next half an hour we are going to do something from this box. So there again, their curiosity is kindled. So incorporate the unexpected in your class. That makes the class very interesting. Make ideas concrete and very relevant, and capture ideas in a very narrative way, preferably in a way of stories. I'm sure chemistry or physics or biology, all those are very much related to our life. So it can be related to, your lecture class can be made into a kind of a story form, so that kindles their curiosity and interest. And this is a nice quotation that I saw. The best teachers are those who show you where to look, but don't tell you what to see. So they teach you, show you where to look at, but they don't tell you what to see. And this is that delegating style, where it's a kind of a self-learning, a learning for a lifetime. There are other innovative strategies like creative teaching, audio and video tools, real-world learning, where you can brainstorm. Real-world learning is, like, for example, in a sociology or a psychology class, if you want to understand the mental makeup of people during pandemic times, you can ask them to have a field study, interview a couple of people, COVID victims who have returned mental makeup when they were in the hospital, and now how they feel. So those kinds of real world learning can be done. If you want to learn about, we wouldn't have understood the significance of the farmers, especially now we know how much farming is important, because when farmers are on the street, you know how important farmers are and the job that they do. You could have an interview with a couple of farmers. That will give you a real world learning. And then about brainstorming. Brainstorming is an important and a very interesting strategy that any class, any subject, be it arts, science, humanities, social sciences, everything can be done with brainstorming. Particularly with history, you could ask this question: what if we did not have independence? What if this earthquake did not happen? So think about the impossibilities or think about the other possibilities. So that's a nice way of involving your class. And then classes outside the classroom, particularly for classes to do with biology, botany or zoology, or even otherwise, you can have a class under the tree, or in a shed, or a factory, or somewhere outside the classroom. You can take them out. Learning takes place better that way. Role play, we all do that many times. Storyboard teaching, and then a stimulating classroom environment. So the classroom environment by itself should be very stimulating. And as leaders in the class, the teacher has to provide that kind of a stimulating classroom environment. We have some more ideas here, and you can ask students welcoming new ideas, and this is how you encourage questioning from the student's point of view. Think about a new hobby, work together as a team. Puzzles and games, as I told you. You can start small school clubs or college clubs or groups. Introduce lessons like a story, we've already said that. Think, pair and share. This is kind of where you allow two people to discuss on certain things, and then you share those thoughts in the class. And then peer teaching and learning, and you have a flipped classroom. This is a very good practice that is followed in many Western universities. It's a practice of where the lecture is already posted on the website, and the student reads all that and comes to class prepared. And it's more of activity oriented in a flipped classroom, and it makes things very interesting. Lots of discussions can be an innovative strategy. Role plays, treasure hunt. I remember doing a treasure hunt. We had a quiz in class when I was doing counseling. I had a quiz for the students, and the quiz was in the form of a treasure hunt, and it was very innovative. The only thing is, with these innovative strategies, it involves a lot of preparation time, but if you have the passion to do it, definitely you will be able to do it. And then there are biographies, and then puzzles and crosswords, mock press, group seminars or role plays, posters, games, peer teaching, learning, etc. Now, these are all some of the smart learning things that is now changing classrooms. Some of it we might be using, especially during this pandemic times, especially when we are having online classes. So iThoughts, Kahoot, Google Knowledge Graph, Google a Day, Empressa, Socrative, Present.me, Edu, Wikispaces, Haiku Learning, Kaku, Yammer. I'm not well versed in any of these things. Whatever I told you earlier, I use my own innovative strategies to do it. My strategies are not techie at all. Mostly it is not techie. But each of my class, I try to do something different so that the class is interesting. And this is a nice video which I thought I should show you, because there are different ways of doing it. I told you the things, the best practices that I follow in class. And I also showed you what are those things that are available in the internet. And each student is different. Each student's thought is different. This video is just a depiction of that. If I can show you that.
And 25% divided between the five of us. Gida, Crowbar, myself, Tom, and the baby. That makes 5% for each one of us.
Billy, you're cheating yourself. If there's 25% divided between the five of you, that's 14% apiece.
Oh, no, listen, Pop. I wouldn't cheat you. You know I wouldn't. Now, look here. I'll show you. Let me rub this out here. And now, 25 divided by 5 is 5. You see, 5 won't go into 2, will it? No. But 5 goes into 25,
5 times, you see?
No, you're wrong. Now, 5 into 25. 5 won't go into 2, will it?
No.
But 5 into 5. Now, we didn't use the 2 before, so we're putting it down here. Now, 5 into 20 goes 4 times. There you are. 5 into 25, 14.
No, let me prove it to you now by multiplication. 5 times 5. 5 plus 5 is 35.
Really, I'm surprised you're learning.
Huh?
I'm surprised that you're learning. Now I'll show you. 5 times 14 is 25. 5 times 4 is 20. 5 times 1 is 5. 25. That's it.
No, look, Ma. See, look, you're wrong there because I'll prove it to you. We'll put down 5 14s here. 14. There. Now I'll prove to you by addition that 5 14s is not 25. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20.
21, 22, 23, 24, 25. There you are. Better brush up, Billy. I don't want to see you boys cheated.
Am I there? Yes? Yes? Can you see?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I hope you enjoyed watching that video, 25 divided by 5. We're just trying to say that nothing is right or wrong. There are different ways of viewing the same thing. So whenever students come with different ideas, do not get disheartened. There are different ways of understanding the same thing. And then the fifth P, let's be a little more fast because I think we are already overshooting time. The fifth P is the pupil, the most important P in our life as a teacher and the best part of our lives in our hands. An opportunity to chisel them and polish them and an impact for a lifetime. And when we handle such a pupil, we need to have a big passion and do it with prayer. So it's only with this pupil we will be able to teacher and pupil, we have a personal relationship, a mentoring relationship, and a professional relationship, and a teaching relationship. Generally, with the teachers, there are 6 cancers or C's that can inhibit greatness: cynicism, criticism, comparing, competing, complaining, and contending. And we have to overcome this with our confidence and contentment. Great teachers don't scream like this. They give praise which is authentic, specific, immediate, and private. So as teacher, we have to acknowledge and appreciate students and give them their right respect so that you take them into our line. And the unsaid P, that is called passion. So do what you love what you do. So the unsaid P is that passion. Interest. If you don't have an interest, if we don't have that passion, even the great effort that we put in will not materialize. Success is an attitude. Have a passion to succeed. This is what Anita Roddick, she's the founder of The Body Shop. To succeed, you have to believe in something with such passion that it becomes a reality. This is what she has to say. You can find your voice and inspire others to find theirs. We have a very special purpose of our creation, we the teachers. I will just show you another video which shows us about the significance of us as teachers. Is the video clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Audio?
Clearly visible and audible.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. The most important part of who you are is what you are, what is inside you. Allow yourself to be in a very special hands. If you are students watching this, allow yourself to be in the hands of your teachers. If you are teachers watching this presentation, allow yourselves to be in the hands of our Lord. And you will see that you will be sharpened much better. The last and the final P is prayer. You ask God to show where to drop your nets today. What kind of teaching that you need to use, what kind of innovative strategies that you need to use, what kind of students you will be meeting today. Ask it with a prayer, and our Lord will definitely help you. The road is open. It is for you to decide which way you choose. You nurture and you allow to grow. Thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. So with these few words, I thank all of you for your patient listening. Remember that there are six important P's, and the most important one is the last one, the prayer. The personal care, the professional development, preparation, presentation, the students, and the passion. So thank you. Hope you had a very meaningful session. And I wish you all the best to modify and make best use of your teaching profession. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for a wonderful talk and inspiring presentation. With your guidance, I believe that our viewers will acknowledge the needed importance of inculcating new and innovative strategies in teaching. The key points suggested by you will surely be helpful to all our listeners. Ma'am, with your permission, I would like to put forward a few questions asked by our viewers. May I?
Yes, please.
learning or computational thinking are already in currency but have not yet had a profound influence on education. Do you think that this new normal of online teaching can see these strategies getting materialized?
I think yes, this is an opportunity because the earlier strategies that I spoke of is more for a one-to-one, face-to-face teaching strategies. So I think we definitely need to switch over to the computational and other kinds of internet teaching because our teaching is now mostly virtual. So I think as teachers, we need to be more well versed with all those other teaching strategies also.
Okay. So, ma'am, the second question is, ma'am, you have mentioned in your talk about the delegation style of teaching in which capsule project style can be used. How can we maintain the emotional wrapper and digitalize our approach as well?
How can you?
How can we maintain the emotional wrapper and digitalize our approach as well?
See, delegating style does not mean that the teacher is not at all involved. As I already told you, the delegating style involves a lot of teacher involvement, where the teacher first does a discussing type of teaching, where everything is discussed, everything is planned, and it is only then the student is delegated to carry on these work. So there is a lot of personal contact. Student much more because the work is carried out by the student and it is more of a 75-25 where the student takes the upper hand in the delegating style of teaching.
Okay, so the third question is, nowadays many of the students want ready material which doesn't require any efforts or thinking from student part. But we know it will only stagnate them or their capacity to think. So what do with these kind of students? What to do with this kind of students?
So it is for these kinds of students that the delegating style will definitely work well because we are used. But it is not that they are not thinkers. They can think for themselves. They can do an enormous amount of work. In fact, they can think in a very diversified way better than most of our teachers. It's only that opportunity has not been given to them. So I think for such kind of students who want ready-made stuff, give them hands-on experience, and that will kindle their curiosity to learn. You need some more explanation on that?
No, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
Then
Natasha.
thank you, ma'am, for answering all the question in a precise and clear manner. We appreciate all your prompts and valuable opinions and suggestions. Moving ahead, I now take this an opportunity to thank all those who have directly or indirectly given their valuable inputs into shaping today's program. I would like to express my gratitude to our management and principal, Dr. Katie Thomas, sir, for supporting and guiding us. A special thank goes to the organizing committee and technical team for all their efforts and hard work. We will meet again tomorrow for another interesting session on education and emotional intelligence by Turil Martin. It is my humble request to everyone, please fill the feedback forms before leaving. The link has already been posted in Google Meet chat box and YouTube live chat box. Once again, let me remind all the participants that we deeply regret the inconvenience, but we will meet tomorrow, that is on 8th December on the FDP at 11:15 a.m. instead of 10:30 a.m. So till then, maintain. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mantasha, so much. That was excellent comparing.
Thank you, ma'am.
Very nice. Thank you, organizers. I enjoyed every bit. Hope you enjoyed also. Thanks for your affirmative feedbacks. Very encouraging. Thank you so much. God bless each of you in all your efforts. Thank you.
Thank you.